Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Corner, episode 56. Woo! Today, we're going to be uncovering something that's been on Jen's mind for quite some time, to be
Yes.
honest, and something after Jen brought it up, now it's also on my mind. I think you said it perfectly before we went on, so I want to give you credit for this one.
Okay.
But people have a tendency to talk a lot about sales and marketing alignment these days. But today we're going to be talking about product and marketing alignment. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea. So before we get too deep into the weeds, how do you see product and marketing aligning?
Well, I think this came about from I've been doing a lot of product marketing or product-led growth podcasts, listening to them, being on them. Leah,
We had Leah on here.
Product with Panache.
She's grown so much in followers. Just want to point that out. When we had her, it was like 18,000, right? And I think she's at 40 or 50 now.
Rightly so. Rightly so.
Rightly so. She deserves it. But I'm just saying she's doing something that the
She
rest of us
doesn't notice if she loses 20 in a day.
No.
I fucking notice.
Ouch.
I notice, but she doesn't notice. Not that she would lose 20 followers, but so I'm doing a lot of working with product very closely, and obviously we have a very product-heavy product, and so one of the things that kind of comes up time and time again is making sure we know when things are coming out, making sure we're ready for when things are coming out, and it sounds very simple, but I think so much of our effort in marketing is how do we stay aligned with sales, and the experience that I've had through my career is that sales can be very reactionary. A question comes in, they need this. An issue has happened, they need that. And that's very much the sales world. A call comes in, you get in that meeting. We, in my head, and this is something I was trying to say to the sales team, look at us like a product team. We need time. We cannot just create a campaign overnight. We need time to let it run, blah, blah, blah. And so this kind of concept kind of came out of that, of trying to explain to sales, we are aligned, we should be aligned, but we don't work the same way as you.
Okay.
We need a roadmap. We need to plan. We like to know what's coming down the pipe. While we still want to support you, we want your feedback. We want to know what's working, but it's very difficult for us to constantly react to requests with such short notice.
Yeah.
So how do we be more proactive, and how do we align with products so that, for example, when a product is coming out, a new feature, whatever, usually what happens in many organizations is, okay, this feature is out now. And then you're like, great, now I have to figure out how to get sales enablement. Now I have to figure out how to do the how-to guide, how I get the help center. How do you prepare for that better? And so I am a big advocate, and I'm working on right now, is a commercial product roadmap.
Okay.
So it was a growth initiative of how can we be more proactive and see what's coming. But obviously, as Casper brought to me off air, sales have to obviously be a big part of that as well. So we operate and kind of working very closely with product of what's coming out, what kind of enablement, what kind of training, what do sales need, and then sales are also going to be part of the conversation of adding to what else they could possibly need with as much notice as possible.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're doing right now. Again, a lot of good buy-in. I'm very excited, and one of the things that's helping is also the campaigns that we're launching on this date actually conflict with product releases that we didn't know about. So so I think my hot take on it was that we need to focus more on aligning with product. But that isn't to say keep sales out of the conversation. It's more informing sales of what's coming in good time, but also still creating that bandwidth to respond to those requests that come in. That's my pitch. What say you, Casper? What say you?
I think fundamentally, at the different organizations I've been in, I've always wanted to be more part of it than I was. I think at Templafy we quickly established product marketing, because for me, product marketing, it's not the saving grace, but it's once you establish that function, that's when you recognize, okay, it needs to be part of, we need to be closer to product.
Yep.
That is, for me, establishing product marketing. Yes, it does other things too, and also it's sometimes wrong to call it product marketing because it's equal. There's a lot of sales enablement.
Yes,
right?
We put sales enablement in product marketing.
Exactly, that's what you typically do, right?
Yeah.
So, but either way, once you establish product marketing, that's a recognition of saying okay, we need to get closer to our product team. How you do that? I recently had a discussion with a company that has their product marketing sitting with the strategy team. instead, and which is closer to a product team than a marketing team, right? So that's also a bit different. That's actually the first time I've seen that. But so you can do it in a lot of different ways. But I think the first step is recognizing that this is a problem, and then I think for me, product marketing has been the solution a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So how you actively do it, that's hard. One of the things that worked really well for me in the past when it comes to doing this, as an example, when I was at United FinTech, we bought multiple different companies and they all had different product roadmaps. So imagine each one had 4 different main products, and each product had a product owner so that was 16, and when I was there, 16 different products minimum.
Yikes.
So here I was just like, okay, cool. How do we do that, right? How do we plan a product roadmap around that? And to be honest, like I was still working on it while I left. But doing it, like mapping it out, and because essentially what I explained to them is like, we need approximately this amount of time before a product releases. And we started to get it into motion. And we set up these like blocks. We had like, what do you call it? I always forget. These like in Monday, like I use Monday a lot, project management tool. I use it like where you have these like I think it's called canvas boards or something.
Canvas board, yeah.
Where you can see like a block that blocks out time and say, hey, this is how much time we need for a landing page.
Yeah.
So whenever you have a product launch, okay, Gantt chart. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
So
in a got you boo.
Got you boo.
Whenever you have a product launch, well, then we typically need a landing page. We typically need these the typical things we need. So if you want a product launch this, so whenever they would put in a product launch, I had it automatically set up to implement different things that would normally go into the process, and then you could backtrack and say, okay, if you want to launch 1st of September, the process has to start 3 months in advance with this thing to first.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was almost actually, I automated it. So whenever, and then of course, they still need to put it in, which they didn't. But but I automated that part at least. And for me, that was speaking of roadmaps and how to align it, that was how we did a bit of it.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, and it's one of the things that we're moving to Notion now. I've been an Asana girl my whole career, and now I'm trying to figure out Notion. I like Notion. I can see the power in it, but I'm still struggling to get my head around everything.
I feel like you can do, like, Notion's almost too powerful.
Yeah, that's my problem. Right? I'm like, I keep joking with my team, I'm a tech boomer. I'm like, can someone under 40 help me figure this out? If I click old, this, man. What happens? Like, but we're getting there. But so what we've done is we've created a Google Doc, or Google Sheet, right now, because we wanted we haven't set up company-wide Notion yet. So we want a document that isn't having to be duplicated. So, if you make a change in product, I don't want you to have to inform me, so I make a change in my Notion and blah, blah, blah. So we're working on one shared document where we're doing exactly that. So we've mapped all the product go-lives, and then from, sort of 2 weeks before that, this, and then we have also the sales team have put in, like, when is something communicated to clients, when is it testable, when is it publicly viable, or commercially viable. And then once it's commercially viable, then I can plot in my press release, my joint webinar, my social media campaigns, around all of that. And the exercise, as I mentioned earlier, has been really good to highlight, like, oh shit, we have a lot of things happening in September. Because everyone's like, wait till the end of summer, end of summer. And the problem is we have like 4 massive things in 1 month. Too much. So we're kind of, okay, we can move this, we can move that. Let's make sure we keep that impact going. But the other good part of this is that it gives everyone visibility of how long these things take. So if you want a how-to video, great, but then I need you to get me this and this and this, then I need time to film it, then I need time to edit it, then it's ready to go. And it works better from a marketing perspective, and also sales now can go, okay, so at least I know on this day I'm going to get this. And understanding just how long some of these things take, I think is really powerful.
Yeah, but I think there's 3, like there's, as it kind of makes sense, there's 3 people in the room, right? So there's product, marketing, and sales.
Yeah, and CS for us, but
and CS, and that makes sense. But for me, CS, but that's a good point. That's
Help Center.
Yeah, Help Center, because like when the product goes live on the website and everywhere else, like there needs to be help desk information. Correct. Or something. It needs to be ready. And so it's a good point.
CS need to be trained,
and that's the point, right? Because that's a cutoff point. Because it's always like. I always with my team and in general, I'm as a leader. I'm like, I know my wife hates me for saying this. I'm always like, what's nice to have and what's a need to have. So you can identify like what are the need to haves when we go live. Well, the product has to fucking work.
Yeah,
like when we go live, the product has to work. Okay, cool. That's a need to have. Cool. We need to talk about it on our website. Cool. We need to have a landing page. That's a need to have. Do we need to have it incorporated in a chatbot? Nice to have, not need to have.
Yeah.
Like
a video, nice to have.
Nice to have, not need to have.
Yeah.
Really, really nice, but not need to have.
Yeah.
And internal documentation, nice to have, but not necessarily maybe need to have sometimes. Right? So identifying what are the need to haves and what are nice to haves for a product launch, and then mapping that out, and then creating this like system where you say, okay, where every time you do a product launch, this is the nice to haves, this is are the need to haves, and then because then you can systemize it, you can process it, and then actually I've always found that product people, they like this. They like this part.
Yeah.
Salespeople hate it. They fucking they hate it. Like whenever I show them this system, they're like, yeah, can I just get the thing I want?
Yeah. Now.
Yeah. And I'm half salesperson, half marketing, right? So I'm like, I get it. You guys. There's a lot of work. And the product people, I love this. So that I've always had success with actually. Where it's failed sometimes is just not the scoping, but not the scoping a little bit, but also just like a little bit sometimes the coordination.
Yeah.
Like the coordination sometimes like, hey, we didn't
if there's a
involve you.
delay in something or something's not happening, we need to be told as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And an example of that is in a company.
Yeah.
Shan't say which one. We were to launch something on a particular date, and my team mobilized, and we had tons of content ready to go, and then that thing did not launch, and the content just. Yeah. So we had been working, and then for no reason. And so I think having a strong product person, shout out to Mareka, she's our head of product.
Oh yeah, God, we have so many star players.
We have stars. Yeah, shout out Mareka, love you.
Shout out.
But we have a really strong product leader who has a commercial brain, which is very, very helpful. So she understands that things need to be communicated, things take time.
That's great. That's what you need, right?
Yeah, and I think that's I've worked in places without that, and I've worked in places now, like especially here at Onomundo, we're really lucky to have that. So now it's up to us to make sure we coordinate. So the product team is doing what product does. They're building cool shit. It's up to us in growth to go, okay, these are the things we want to do. This is how we're going to do it. Sales, this is what you need. CS, this is what you need. And making sure everyone has all the must-haves and as many of those nice-to-haves as possible. So that's the plan. Let's see if it happens. But we have a map. We had a meeting today. Everyone's like, yes, we're going to meet monthly to stay updated on how we are going and how we're progressing. And then within the growth team, we have built out an individual GTM in Notion of like, here's all the content, here's the status of all these pieces of content to make sure that we're on top of everything.
Love it.
And planning. I'm a planner. You know this, Casper.
Yeah, you're a planner. You love this
part. I'm a planner.
I
love it.
I love it when a plan
comes together.
Yeah, right? Like,
A-team.
But it's just, it also speaks into the whole, like, this is a phrase or a wording, a phrase, called whatever you want, but I use a lot these days, is go-to-market motion, right? What's your go-to-market motion? And I think figuring out what your go-to-market motion is kind of crucial these days.
Yeah.
Especially like when you work in SaaS, when there's so many product releases and you expect product department to release something every month or weekly or whatever, then you gotta have developed some sort of go-to-market motion.
Yeah.
And I think that's essentially what it's all about for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I
just mobilize.
Off air, we're saying like that's why I want sales in the room, because like the go-to-market motion is all three people or CS maybe as well, so all four parts coming together and saying like, how do we go to market with this?
And I think maybe for that salesperson to be there, I think they have to have the right mentality, because there's some salespeople who are like, I don't give a shit. I need this now. And sometimes it's an edge case, right? And that's the thing that we're trying to stem a little bit. Like, I had this one thing happen, so please can your team spend half a day building this? I would much rather have, this is a problem that has come up time and time again. Let's fix it. And I think that's a better use of the team's time. So I think it's a big part of that alignment is managing sales' expectations.
Yeah,
as well.
100%.
Yeah.
I remember at Templify, I don't know if they still run with it, but they implemented while I was there, like this sort of, I can't remember, it was called AHA, I think, or something. This like essentially like idea system. So all sales, whenever they had things with customers or something, they could put it in, and then whenever the product team would meet, there would always be a sales champion So someone who cared about this stuff, as you say, specifically was a
and understands how things
yeah,
how the process. Yeah,
exactly. Because it's also like I think the important part from me sidetracking a little bit is just you're taking time out of people's busy calendars, so you gotta make sure it's worth it.
Yeah, 100%.
And don't get me wrong, I believe this is worth it. But if you, let's say you have product meetings for 3 hours every week, I don't know if you have that, but let's say you do that, and you take 3 hours every week out of a salesperson's calendar, and you have a salesperson team of 2.
Yeah, no, that's
then you're like cutting your sales activities, but like I don't know, 20% or something for like it's a lot, right?
And I think
that's bad math, but
but I don't want to sound like I'm throwing shade at sales. Sales's job is different.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say. They operate in a different way.
Yeah.
So they tend to be very reactionary.
Yeah.
So we need to be proactive to save that bandwidth to make sure we can react to when they need stuff.
Yeah.
Rather than constantly being on the reactive, because that's when we kind of go sales. You need to back off. Like.
But I also think that's a different. That depends a bit on where you are in your journey as a company.
Okay.
Because like you guys, how many people are you today?
88.
88. So I think you're just at the cusp of what I would say where in the beginning, let's say you're 10 people. You have 2 salespeople, let's say that.
Yeah.
Make it easy. You have 2 salespeople. Of course, maybe you're lucky you sit in the same room. Let's say you don't. Like you say you don't. Then, yeah, you have to create alignment. There's a lot of things you have to create alignment around when you're 10 people. But taking... nobody people are so much in the weeds when you're 10 people, like everyone's just like head fast, we gotta clear crunch. So there's not a lot of spillage, and I'm not saying you have spillage, but at some point when you reach 200 300 people, you have a CRO, you have a CSO, you have a VP of sales that's not doing calls anymore. They're not on doing sales calls. Yes, they might join once in a while. They're doing training and other stuff, and then they should have the ability to take what the sales teams are saying they take that and say, hey guys, here's my bag of shit.
Yeah.
My bag of product, whatever, feedback. And they should be a part of that.
Yes.
And I think that's my point. That doesn't really happen in the same way when you're 10 people.
Yeah.
Like, cause we're busy. Like, and
it doesn't happen at 88 either.
You don't. No. And that's what I'm trying to say with you guys as an example. I don't think you're quite big enough. I think you're like 2. I don't know what the correct number is. Let's say 150, 200 people. When you get to the point where like, okay, now you have someone who's really not doing sales anymore, but still a sales leader.
Yeah. It's similar to me. Like, I'm not doing ads. I'm not doing content, but I'm looking above the horizon, saying what's next.
And that's actually the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like that's a strategy, and that's when you want sales in the room.
Yeah.
So when you reach the point where you have a sales leader who's not doing sales anymore, that's when you
then
know,
they're in the room. Yeah.
Then they should be in the room.
Yeah. But when you have it, currently we have a sales leader who is on calls and who is managing accounts, and so he's kind of like there on his phone checking things. I gotta go, and then I just need to. Can I just get this? I gotta go, and that's not his fault.
No,
that
exactly.
Is just his world versus our world, and so we're trying to find a way to.
So you're not quite big enough, right? For a dedicated person, like, or someone to dedicate a lot of time. Because I think, or maybe that's just me, but that's how I see it working really well. Like, because then you can then it becomes like then you're suddenly doing strategy things every week, and that's super healthy.
Yeah, I agree. And we're trying to get there. So we'll have a strategy meeting every month that is aligned with product.
Yeah.
But we also, in this roadmap, are putting our webinars and our campaigns and the things that we're doing that have nothing to do with product, but and of course the document is like 1,000 rows long. But the important part is now we can kind of map it out, and we would not have known about this September issue had I not done that. But we have stuff coming out with household names 4 at the same time, and it was like, oh, that's not good. We got to stop that right now because product's doing their thing, we're doing our thing. And so, so it's been a really wonderful exercise. It's brought us much closer as well. Like, I think we focus so much on commercial. Like, we call it the commercial team, CS, sales, marketing / growth. A lot of companies are like this. And product and tech are their own little island over there. Yeah. And then finance is over here. And at least having this joint roadmap, we are very much speaking the same language, singing from the same hymn sheet, if you will. And that's been... Again, we're still learning. I'll come back in a year and tell you if this worked, but it's already, again, it feels right.
But let's be, so I consult a lot of companies through what I do at Sparkforce, but also what I've done before. And the best companies I've ever had the pleasure of working with as a consultant are the ones where the go-to-market motion is synchronized, where it works, like where the communication between them works, and when they launch something, it's synchronized across all departments. Those are the companies that win. Yeah. Like, it's actually, for me, it's that simple. Like, this is for me. It's one of the most important things we can do as marketeers is make sure this motion works, and we're only part of the system.
Yeah.
But the companies that I see are winning, to keep it like simple language here, but are the ones where the go-to-market motion is unified, like
With product.
with product.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Those SaaS companies, like without mentioning names, but I've seen, and I've also seen the ones that don't. Like, and then suddenly you have this situation where, hey, you released, and 3 months later there's a help desk information, then there's the first ad coming out, and sales has already started selling something that's not really ready. We've all been there, and don't get me wrong, the best companies also make mistakes, but the more you start recognizing that your go-to-market motion is in steps, almost like a value chain, like it's like a step chain.
Yeah, 100%.
And those are the ones that do really well, in my opinion.
And
That's
I
what I've
think,
seen.
I think, having product in the room has been really, really helpful, because the other thing that you see, what was happening before is like, product are doing stuff, and then we'll have like every Friday someone gets to show something, and they'll show like, hey, here's this new feature we built, and we're like, that's cool. That could probably be put in the newsletter, or
exactly.
And so we need to stop. And then, or sometimes sales will be like, this thing is coming out in 6 months, but I already want to start pitching it. Can I get a deck? And we're like, no, no, because we don't know what it is. We don't know how it works. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know how to position it.
And that's
but it's going to be cool.
Yeah, exactly. And that just shows, if they're already ready to show it, there should be some communication have happened before, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're ready to show it. And sometimes, of course, hey, I just developed this over the weekend.
Yeah.
Right? Fair enough.
Or sometimes they think it's not big enough to make a splash.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're marketing. We'll make everything into a splash.
I've had so much of that. Oh my Lord.
Yeah. It's so funny with the tech, because tech people are like, I've just built this thing because I thought it was cool in here. And we're like,
remember,
that's a great ad. I can see it in my head already.
Amazing. Like, I remember I was I can tell this. This was at United FinTech, and there was like this German company we worked with, and they had just released something that they went from covering North America and Europe to now also covering South America. I'm like, and they were like, yeah, but it's not that important. I'm like, dude, it's like,
hello,
it's a huge
it's
part
a whole
of the
market.
world. I can make that sound fucking important.
Yeah, just give it to me.
Yeah, it's like, so now we used to cover only 2 parts of the world. Now it's 3. I just messed around with it, but it's like, and that's why you need marketing in the room.
Yeah,
and
like,
that marketing and sales, and I actually think it's a good point just to maybe end on at some point here. But it's like if you don't have your commercial team in the room, the commercial opportunities are not spotted.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen. That like we connect the dots. Like as a marketeer, sometimes they would go, "Yeah, we developed this," and I'm like, "And what if we sent that to our email list? Can we just send that?" Like, we haven't thought about that. Of course, yeah. Sure. Or hey, we just developed this. What if they share it with their friends? Can they do that? Yeah, technically, okay. Like they don't spot that, and that's okay. So that's why
not their job. Yeah,
that's not their job per se, right? So you need people who have a commercial mindset in the room. Yeah. And however that looks, you just need them there.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen. So keep us busy. Keep marketing involved in every single meeting.
And talk about your go-to-market motion.
Yeah,
I think,
talk about the go-to-market motion.
Yeah.
And put a process around it.
Put a process.
That's the thing that we're trying to get to now. Like, what happens when? Yeah,
exactly. What happens when? Develop that. That works.
Yeah. Talk to product, guys.
Yeah.
It's the future.
Great. Yeah. Product-led growth all the way.
PLG.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Have a nice day. Have a nice day. Bye. Okay, love you. XOXO. XOXO.